Ooh. Oh, sure. Appreciate everybody being here today, and I know it's a little hot. We're trying our best to do everything we can to make it more comfortable. Um, and every time I start to think about it or to kind of whine about it, I think, man, I wonder how it felt when Jesus was walking around uh, for miles and miles in the desert and teaching, and sure it wasn't very comfortable. Um, Nevertheless, we'll do our best to keep fans going, some air conditioning going, keep everybody as comfortable as we can. Uh, you just, if you would, say a prayer for me this morning. I might need an IV when this is over, but that'll be okay too. Um, I thought we were going to be completely done with this thought process, and the Lord showed me a little something different this week. We've gone over several weeks. We've gone over some things and talked about some things that we should do, like embracing Jesus, um, you know, really accepting Jesus and his plan and his word, and then worshiping Jesus. And this week he spoke to me and he said, "It's time to talk about a couple of things that we don't need to do or that we need to stop doing." And so this is one of them, and I'll give you a definition there at the top. The word that was used, uh, the word that was actually used here, where we're going to see refuse in our English translation, the word that was actually used in the Greek was parete omai. Parete omai. And it's a pretty complex word. It literally means to be close to or be beside, and then beg off or deprecate or decline or shun. It, so it means to be right there, right beside Jesus, and then to shun him. Does that make sense? Um, I, First scripture I got on here, Matthew chapter 13. Just bear with me just a minute. But Matthew 13, and starting in 53, said, when Jesus had finished telling these stories and illustrations, he left that part of the country. He returned to Nazareth, his hometown. When he taught there in the synagogue, everyone was amazed and said, where does he get this wisdom and the power to do miracles? Then they scoffed, or in other words, made fun of him, and said, he's just the carpenter's son. And we know Mary, his mother, and his brothers, James and Joseph, and Simon and Judas. All his sisters live right here among us. Where did he learn all these things? And they were deeply offended and refused to believe in him. Then Jesus told them, a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown and among his own family. And so he did only a few miracles there because of their unbelief. So I want you to picture this and think about this situation. These folks had seen Jesus all his life. They had known him all his life. It's kind of hard for me to believe that you can know him and grow up with him and not think, man, there's something different about this guy. But this is the place they're in, and I know I say stuff like this a lot, and hopefully we get it, and I can move on to something else. That's all I know to tell you. But what I kept thinking was these folks had an idea of who Jesus was in their mind. And that idea of who they thought Jesus was in their mind kept them from getting to know who Jesus really was. Does that make sense? Does that not sound like America today? We got an idea, Johnny, of who we think Jesus is, and sadly most folks have made him up in their mind to suit them. He works for me. I'll ask him what I want. And I say this all the time, like Pop used to say. I'll pull up to the first window and tell him what I want. I'll go to the second one and get it. I'll pick it up there. And that's not how Jesus works. See, I belong to him. Sister, if you've surrendered to the Lord, you belong to Him. He bought you. He paid the price it took to buy your soul out of hell. So I belong to Him. I'm not. There's nothing about this that says I'm going to go tell Him what I want and He's going to give it to me. That's not at all how this works. But these folks had an idea of Jesus, and they said that there's no way this guy can be this way. But listen to what the Word said right there. They saw the miracles, and they still wouldn't believe it. So my question to you, and the question that the Spirit asked me this week, was, how many miracles have you seen? How many things have you seen God work out that nobody else could have worked out? Amen. How many things has come around? I know there's some here seen some miraculous things, haven't they? So why don't you really trust Him? What is it that causes you to refuse Him? What is it that holds you back from trusting Him completely? Because there's a bunch of us that's close. We're right there, man. We're right there. We're right there, Mike. We're close. All we need to do is make sure we don't start shunning and avoiding, right? Because we're gonna get on into this here in a minute, and I hope this makes sense to you. But how many miracles are we possibly missing out on because of our unbelief? Because we got that picture in our head of who Jesus is, instead of giving it all to Him and trusting who He really. Listen, I want you to know something. He's not only God, He's not only Savior, He's miracle worker, He's teacher, He's guide, He's everyday guide. He's all that you need, and we need to realize that instead of trying to put Him in that box. These folks they'd seen miracles, they'd heard the testimonies of all these other people, all this stuff He'd done, but they still couldn't get past that picture they'd made up in their mind. Couldn't get past that to really get to know Him. Now I'm going to flip over here to Hebrews. And as we go through this, ask yourself, how many miracles are you missing out on because of your unbelief? How many things could we be seeing? How many miraculous things could we be a part of if we could just trust Him? Just give it to Him. Hebrews chapter 12. Just going to read you a couple of verses now. I feel like, and we'll finish the chapter out here in a few minutes. But verse 24 said, that a lot of people believe that Paul wrote the Hebrews and didn't put his name on it because the Hebrew people, the Jews, didn't really want to believe Paul because Paul had been their hero. He had studied under Gamaliel, and he was persecuting the church and all this stuff, and then he got saved and turned, and they didn't want to believe him. But a lot of people believe Paul wrote this as one last-ditch effort to get his Jewish brothers and sisters saved. We don't know for sure, but a lot of this sounds like Paul's writing. Nevertheless, whoever it was for sure, in verse 24 said, you have come to Jesus. So he's talking to these now that apparently he believes have turned their life to the Lord. He said, you have come to Jesus, the one who mediates the new covenant between God and people, and to the sprinkled blood, which speaks forgiveness instead of crying out for vengeance like the blood of Abel. So he's talking about Jesus' blood, speaks of forgiveness. And he said, be careful that you do not refuse to listen to the one who is speaking. For if the people of Israel did not escape when they refused to listen to Moses, the earthly messenger, we will certainly not escape if we reject the one who speaks to us from heaven. So he said, you've come to Jesus, and then at the end of this, he says, be careful that you don't refuse to listen to Him. And I want you to understand something. Refusing to listen to Jesus is costing us, and it's going to cost us. Getting stuck in that place of we got it all figured out and we got God figured out in our mind and all this stuff, and not surrendering and moving and living for the miraculous is costing us. But also, we kind of, and I didn't know I was going to get on this, but I feel like Z said something about it here the other day, that we look back at the children of Israel and we think, "Boy, we'd never do that. That ain't. I'd be better than that." And every day we do the exact same thing. Listen, the children of Israel he's talking about when he led them out of Egypt. And we know most of us kind of know this story, but we're going to go through it again anyway. But God leads them out of Egypt. Egypt is the biggest superpower in the world. They're the world superpower at the time. God leads them out of there, but he leads them out of there with their gold, with their jewels that they just gave them. And then he leads them up to the Red Sea, and then he parts the sea, and then he causes an east wind to blow strong all night long. And then the next morning he leads the children of Israel through the sea with a wall of water on both sides on dry ground. And then he entices the Egyptian army, the greatest army in the world, into that sea, chasing them. And then he takes the wheels off their chariots and crashes the water in on them. He destroys the mightiest army in the world. And then he gives their swords and their shields to the Israelites and has them ready for their next battle. He does all this stuff, and then just a few weeks later, they get up to the edge of this promised land. Listen, they've been in the desert for a few weeks, out there where it's hot and dry. And then he leads them right up there where they can see some of that grassland, some of that good land over there he's promised them. And they send the spies over into the land, and 10 of them come back and say, "Nah, we can't go over there. I know God said that he'd give us this land, but there's giants over there with walls and fenced cities, and we look like grasshoppers in their sight. We can't go over there." So after they watch God do all this, part the sea, destroy the mightiest army on the planet, now they're going to say, "He can't do this. We can't trust him to this. It's too much. It's too big. These folks are too powerful. There's no way we can overcome it. There's giants over there. There's nothing we can do." How many times do we do that? We know he works, don't we, Don? We know he's got all the power, don't we? We've seen it. We've seen folks healed. We've seen people saved. Listen, the first time I gave my testimony after I got saved, I was talking to an old friend of mine at the sporting goods store. He said, "What you been into?" And I said, "Well, just let me tell you." I said, "The Lord saved my soul." No, he leaned over on the counter. He said, "My God, if you can get saved, anybody can." About 6 months later, he called me. He said, "Hey, I got saved. I couldn't get it off my mind." Listen, we've seen some stuff. You know, we've seen people saved that folks thought couldn't get there. We've seen some old roughnecks born again, completely changed. So why do we refuse to move when he says move? We know the power, don't we? He's the power that can't even be measured. We know that. So why don't we move when he says move? Why are we not? Why are we not sensitive to the Spirit of God? I'm going to show you something. Israel, they were content with watching God's mighty hand move. They were content watching that pillar of fire go back there and protect them from the Egyptians. They were content watching him spread those waters apart and dry the ground up. They were content with watching him destroy the greatest army in the world. But when they got over there to the edge of the promised land, Johnny, it was time for them to do some fighting. And when they had to get up, it was a no. They was okay as long as they could sit and watch God move. But when they had to go into that promised land and fight for it themselves, that was too much, Cynthia. They couldn't do that. We ain't going over there. We're not going to have no part of that. So, is that where we're at today? How many times have you heard God used to move like that, but he don't do that anymore? You ever heard that? How many times have you heard that was for for back then. God don't move like that anymore. Well, the Bible I read tells me that God's the same yesterday, today, forever. So he didn't change. He's still in the miracle business, Mike. The church just ain't been in the believing business. The cost. I got a note of it there. The cost of what it cost those people that refused God in the edge of the desert there. It cost them 40 years wandering around and around in that dry place, eating the same thing every day. 40 years. 40 years. He gave them manna. I thought of Danny when I was studying this, because he had to go for a while, didn't get to eat anything, and he got pretty hungry, and he's been wanting to get out there and eat a little bit of that stuff he missed for a while. Danny, God gave him manna. It was like a little honey wafer every day. And they whined and cried about that, so then he sent them some quail. And that's all they ate for 40 years. And then they died in that desert. God didn't let them see the promised land because they refused him. It cost them a lot. What's it costing us? We come in and we sit. And I'm not jumping on this group. This is a good, loving, giving, working group, and we need to build on that. But we don't need to refuse him for anything. I want to see miraculous, don't you? Miraculous or mediocre. I'm gonna keep throwing that at you. It's up to us what we have. We serve the Almighty. I told you a couple of times lately, the most powerful organism on the planet is the church. The church. And we sit on our hands and don't walk in that power. Listen, when I walk in the room and shake somebody's hand, brother, I want them to get a cold chill because the Spirit of God's there. I mean that. Me and him got a deal. I'm going to see thousands saved before I leave here. And I mean that. I don't want to refuse him for anything. Sometimes it takes a little bit of fighting. That's where they were stuck at. When it was time to fight, that was too much. They couldn't believe that far. They couldn't have that much faith. As long as God's doing something, I'm all right. I like that. But when he tells me to get up and strap on my sword, well, I'm going to be a coward and whine about it. He's going to require stuff of you. Understand that. The only way to stretch your faith and the only way to get you to the place he wants you, the only way to get you ready for glory, the only way to get to know you better and really for you to give in to him completely is for him to require stuff of you, make you grow. Otherwise, you're just going to lay there and die. We got to get up. I'm just about to get out of your way. I won't take you too much time here. I thought about what we've seen in America, and I mean it hadn't been that many years ago that Billy Graham was doing crusades and seeing 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000 people come down and give their heart to Jesus, right? Ain't been that long ago. And then we've also seen a whole bunch of nothing, a whole bunch of people not moving, not worshiping, not praising, not getting out witnessing, not. Most of us in here have been a part of these drive-through prayers. How shocked are people that the church is out doing something? That's a shame. I'm glad we're doing it, but it's a shame that it's got to the place that they're used to the church not doing anything. It's a shame that it got to the place that the church is the butt of their jokes. And we've been getting our butts kicked for long enough by the enemy. Oh, yeah. Everybody just sitting around getting wore out. We got to get up. It's time to fight. This thing's almost over. We're running out of time. There's no way that we're not living down in the last days of the church. No way. Besides that, I don't like getting beat up. Do you? I thought about a pretty familiar story. Most of you is gonna know it. I'm not gonna go over there and read it, but I put you a note here. It's 2 Kings chapter 7 if you want to go back and look at it, and I hope you will. But the Aramean army had besieged Samaria and forced them into a famine. Now at this time, this was before Babylon came and, whipped Israel good and took a bunch of them captive and all that stuff. So this was before the city of Samaria was looked down on. This was before they were all considered half-breeds. So at this time, this was acting as the capital of Israel. And then Judah was, its capital was down in Jerusalem. The Aramean army comes in and, Ben-Hadad, he besieges the city with the king inside, cuts off all their trade, don't let anybody in or out, and puts them down into starvation. And most of you are familiar with this. But there's 4 lepers sitting outside the city. So they weren't clean, so they couldn't be in there. They wasn't supposed to get close to anybody. So they were sitting outside. But they were starving too. Nobody was getting food. Nothing was happening. And one night they said, man, why sit here till we die? We got to do something. They said, well, if we keep sitting here, we're going to starve to death. So let's just go over the hill to the enemy's camp. Maybe they'll give us a little bit of food and let us live. So they get up and go over there. When they get down there, there's nobody there. All the tents are there, all the food's there, all the wine's there, all the good stuff's there. And they begin to hide them a little treasure, get them a little something to eat, stuff a bottle of wine in their cloak. Hey, buddy, we're getting the good stuff. And then go back and tell everybody, hey, they're all gone. Come out and get something to eat. So they got off their tail, stepped out on faith, and ended up being a part of a great miracle. And that's where we're at today. Why? Why sit here till we die? We can't just sit here and wither up. It's time to get up. Get moving. Stop refusing. So what is it? What is it that he's been dealing with you on? What is it you've been kind of up there close to him, but then you go to shunning when he starts requiring something of you? What is it that requires your sword and shield and you're not willing to pick it up and go to battle? What is it that he's asking you to do that you refuse to step out on the faith and do it? So you don't know what kind of miracle might be right on the other side of that. You don't know how great a difference you could make. You don't know what it might mean to somebody next to you. You don't know what it might mean to this whole family. But you got to quit refusing. Sometimes it ain't easy. It ain't. One of our favorite Bible verses, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That ain't got nothing to do with a football game or a baseball game. Everybody likes to use it for that. What Paul was saying was he's going to require something of you, Johnny, but I got good news, brother. He's going to give you everything you need to accomplish what he's asking you to do. That's what that scripture means. All things. He'll give it. But you got to get up. You want mediocre or you want miraculous? Listen, folks would think we were crazy sitting out here in this tent having church service. They would. They'd think we were nuts. Maybe we are. I'll be a nut for Jesus. Because one of these days, I'm not going to look so crazy. Right. Listen, there's some of you's going to be terrified when he parts them clouds because you got the wrong picture in your mind. Yeah. Eddie Cochran used to say, it ain't going to be Mickey Mouse parts them clouds, brother. It's going to be the Lion of the tribe of Judah. It's going to be the great I am, the one that has all authority. That's who's coming. That's who I'm going home with. That's who lives in me. Listen, what God put on the inside of us is His Spirit. You know what that means? I didn't know I was going to get on this either. Humans are three-part, right? We're mind, body, soul. So is God. God the Father, He's the head of all. He's the mind. God the Son is the body. He was made flesh and dwelt among us. And the Spirit of God's the soul. You know what that is? That's that most intimate part. You know, they stuff that goes through your mind that you don't tell even her. That's the way we are. There's just that little something that nobody else knows about us, not even our spouse. And that's what God took out of Himself, Donna, the most vulnerable part of Him, and gave it to you, put it in your heart. How are we going to sit still? The one that sat on His throne and created everything we've ever seen without getting up. He spoke it into existence. He said He made great plans for you way before you were even born. How are we going to sit? How are we going to refuse to move and see what great things He's going to do next? Man, this is an adventure. If we'll walk in faith, this is an adventure. See whose life He's going to touch next. See what's going to happen around the corner. I'm going to read these last few verses and just leave these with you. A thought or two, and I'll get out of your way. Go back to 26. And when God spoke from Mount Sinai, His voice shook the earth. But now He makes another promise. Once again, I will shake not only the earth, but the heavens also. This means that all of creation will be shaken and removed, so that only unshakable things will remain. Since we are receiving a kingdom that is unshakable, let us be thankful and please God by worshiping Him with holy fear and awe, for our God is a devouring fire. What do you think that unshakable is that's going to last? Now, I'm going to tell you what it is. Real relationship. Them checklists we talk about that people want to do, all them's going out the window. All that religious ceremony, all that's going out the window. The only thing that's going to last, brother, is that real personal relationship you got between you and Him. There's going to be so many people standing there this is sad too. This breaks my heart. There's going to be so many people that thought they had it all figured out all that time, Vicky. And they're going to be standing there saying, but Lord, I did all these things in your name. And He's going to say, I never knew you. You never surrendered. You refused me. You wouldn't have it. I can't help you now. Time's up. It's done. It's over. The only thing that's going to be left is that real relationship. I know that'd make a whole lot of folks mad today that think they got it all figured out with their ceremony. My list of do's and don'ts, and maybe even my clicker, all this ceremonial stuff, all of it's going to be wasted. It's going to be gone. That personal relationship between you and Him, that's the only thing that's going to be unshakable. See, Jesus didn't come to start a religion. He came to start a relationship. He opened up the way that we can be reconciled to God. I think my son said it best. He said, God said, man, I kind of messed up. These folks they're messed up. I'm going to go down there and fix it myself. And that's what He did. He died. As Joby Martin says, He died instead of me. He didn't die for me. He died instead of me. It was my place. That was my lot. And He took it for me. This ain't a authentic definition. This is just kind of a quick one for you to remember. But NLT here said for us to worship Him with holy fear and awe. And awe is like dread, respect, or wonder inspired by his overwhelming greatness. There's going to be a lot of people completely terrified when that day comes that he comes back because they still have refused to accept that real relationship. We want to fix it on our terms. We want to have it all on our way and on our terms, and instead of understanding that he bought us with a price and we belong to him. That means I don't have power over me, brother. I don't belong to me. He's got power over us because we belong to him. Stop refusing him. Whatever it is that he's putting on your heart or urging you to step out for, just do it. He give you everything you need to do it, all that you need. So step out today. If you would, stand to your feet.